Hello, friends and foes alike. Welcome to my channel, Janet Catherine Ann, Living at 360. Today, my story is going to be about my beginning of making changes in my life when I was, 18, 19 years old. These are the things that I started with that actually led me to make the bigger changes, to make the biggest change when I was 60. So I think I should give you a little bit of insight on how I went about it and how I fell upon it. So when I was young, I was 4 years old, I always dreamed about being an actress. Part of it was that my father had left and he had gone on to a career in acting, and I wanted him desperately in my life. So I think that was part of it in my psyche. But the other part was that I actually do have a calling in that area of writing, filming, production, acting. But what I'm about to tell you is going to help probably set some younger people that have this dream also in their heart straight. So as I got older, that's all I could think about. And at the age of 17, I graduated high school. I went on to a year of college, but I could not stand the thought of just being a regular person. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to live in Hollywood or New York. So I ended up moving with my father to New York, and we didn't get along so well. I just met him and we didn't see eye to eye, so that didn't work out. And I came back to a small town in California, and even though I was born and raised in San Francisco, in my high school years, I'd moved up to a smaller town up north, which turned out to be a healthy choice for my life at that time. But I went back and I was unhappy, so I picked up and moved to Hollywood. And I got to Hollywood and I was introduced to an acting coach that my father had studied with when he was in New York, Charles Conrad School of Acting. And I started taking acting lessons, and I met a singing coach, and I went and took dance, and I was living my dream. And so through my father, I'd met a few famous people that introduced me to a very good agent, and I went out on some casting calls. But meanwhile, I lay prey to a lot. So one day, after my waitress job in Beverly Hills, because I had to work, a regular job, I was sitting in a yogurt shop, and this guy came up and said, "Have you ever thought about being an actress?" And I was like, "Well, as a matter of fact, that's what I'm here for." He said, "Do you have a portfolio?" I said, "Yes." He says, "I'd like to see that. So let's set up a meeting." And he threw me his card, told me he managed some famous young lady, which he had, but that's not what he had planned for me. So I'd gone home, and my father had moved to Hollywood, so I moved in with him for a minute. And he had this girlfriend that I really liked. And I told her, I'm going on a meeting. I'm bringing my portfolio to meet with this guy. Well, she was smart enough to write the guy's name down, or maybe I left the card, or whatever. And I went on and went to this very famous restaurant, and we sat next to Goldie Hawn, and he sat at a table full of models, and they grilled me as to why I thought I was going to be able to make it in Hollywood. And I was 18, 19 years old, and I was intimidated. Same time, very stubborn. So I stood my ground. And when he said to me, "You want to get out of here?" I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Let's go to my office. We can talk. It's quiet." And so we go across the street, Beverly Hills, high rise. Little did I know his office was his apartment. And when we go in, I still didn't think anything. I was so excited that I was going to be able to show my portfolio, which I didn't have much in it, but a portfolio is usually a book of pictures so they can see how you look in portraits and they could see what you've done. And we sat down on the couch, put it out on the coffee table, and he said, "Here, take this." And it was a pill, and I said, "No, thank you." And he goes, "No, it'll just help you relax. Take it." Well, it was a Quaalude, but I said, "No, thank you." He said, "Yeah, take it." And I was like, "No, I'm not interested." And I tried to show him further, and he reached over, tried to kiss me. I pushed him away. First off, I mean, he was fat and ugly, and I wasn't there to kiss. I was all about business. And so he literally chased me around the coffee table trying to get a hold of me when the phone rang. He answers the phone and he said, "Yes, yes." And he looked at me and says, "It's for you." Well, it was my father's girlfriend. And she was like, "You get out of that apartment right now. This guy is no good." I called my girlfriend, who's a model, and told her his name, and he is not a good person. So she had told him on the phone, "You better not lay a single finger on her. You better let her go." So as soon as I hung up, he went over and unlatched the door. I never even saw him latch it. I was so thankful to get out. I was so thankful to get away from him. That was the first souring experience I had, among others. I joined another musical group, and the guy tried to take me to a motel. I got another agent, and he took me to dinner, tried to take me home. It was just one thing after another, and I was sorely disappointed. It was not exactly how I thought. Now, with the wisdom I have now, I would have studied hard and perfected my craft. I would have stayed out of all that, just perfected my craft until I was good enough. And I would have got involved in some plays. I would have got involved in just going on commercial after commercial. But you know, when you went on an interview for a commercial, there was 500 beautiful girls right in front of you. And I didn't feel like I was the prettiest or the most talented. I had a hard time, like everybody does. So I was discouraged. Well, I happened to work at this big health food store, and I got a hold of a book while I was working in the gift shop, and there wasn't much traffic. I got a hold of a book, and the book was a study of iridology, and it was talking about fasting and how fasting heals. And I thought to myself, you know, I should go away and get my mind set and cleared and get away from all this and fast. So I set myself up on vacation for 30 days. I went away with a tent, a hammock, a guitar, and a couple pairs of clothes and sandals, and a lot of bottled water and a lot of fresh squeezed juices. So the first, you know, and you had to get, like, I got a high colonic before I left. It's supposed to cleanse you so that you're not poisoned in your first couple days. But the first 3 days, oh, and I mapped out an area of where I was going to go. I was going to go for 30 days. I was going to climb up the coast until I reached the northern part where my mom was, and I was going to visit with her. But it was going to take me 30 days to get there. So the first 3 days, I made it to the first campsite, and I hung my hammock, and I laid there and practiced guitar. For 3 days, I did nothing because I felt like poo-poo. After that third day, I was amazed at how I just came out of it. And I felt so good. And all I did was drink the juice with a lot of crushed ice and water. And I got up as far as a resort area called Big Sur, California. And I got a campsite there. And I was at the phone booth. And there was this young lady talking about how exciting it was to be there another summer and how excited she was. And I was like, I want to find out what she's talking about because I'm up for some excitement while I'm here. So she gets off the phone. I said to her, do you mind me asking about what you were talking about? And she said, oh, I come here every summer. And there's so many places. Because when I got there, Big Sur, it was just a bunch of forest. I didn't really see anything exciting. They did have a hot springs I was going to go to, but nothing else that I saw really exciting. And at a bunch of lodges. She said, I come here and work every summer as a maid, and they pay for my rooming, my board, and we get paid on top of that, and you get meals. So, and it's so fun. And so I said, huh. And she said, would you like a job? Because my roommate just got fired. And I said, oh, no, I'm an actress. I'm not a maid. I walked away from her. And of course, my inside said, take the job, take the job, take the job. So I went back and I asked her, well, let me inquire about it. So next thing you know, I'm rooming with her. I'm working as a maid, and we worked from like 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock every day. And then we were off for the rest of the day. And so I ended up working there, getting paid, and spending the rest of my 30 days there in the forest. Meanwhile, I go down to a certain resort, and there's this guy playing, and he was so good. I couldn't believe he was there in a resort and not in Hollywood. So I went back to see him alone and ended up sitting outside talking with him in great length. That time I was 19 and he was 27, I think. So I ended up thinking he was just wonderful. Well, for the rest of the days that I was there, we ended up dating, seeing each other, and spending so much time together that when I went back, I decided that maybe I should go back and live my life with him. And of course, he wanted me to, but I told him I had a career. Something inside of me said, why don't you give this up and go learn about life? And then you can pursue this later in life. Well, little did I know that I get pregnant really easily, or when I was supposed to, because I had had a boyfriend before then and hadn't gotten pregnant. But I got pregnant pretty soon, and of course that kind of made me go that way. And we were married within the year, and thus started a new life. Now, let me tell you what happened there. What happened is I think I saved myself a lot of agony. I think I saved myself a lot of bad experiences, probably some drug use, probably alcoholism. I didn't have any guidance while I was there, and I was prey to a lot of stuff. And so I think I would have ended up going down the wrong path. Maybe, maybe not. But either way, I ended up leading a healthy life. 3 years later, we gave our lives to God and traveled the states singing while he sang, and from church to church, and learning a lot and receiving great little miracles in our lives. And then after that, I decided to have another child, and then another child, and another child followed. And then I finally figured out how I was getting pregnant. Just kidding. And I ended up having 4 children. And my life changed completely. For 16 years I was married until it didn't work anymore. And then again, I had to make a leap of faith and changed my life. But even at that age, I trusted in what was going on inside of me to make that change. And I think I made the right change, even though I've told my kids a few times, I shouldn't have taken that turn or whatever. I'm actually kidding. I know I made the right change. I know that I was led down the right path. I learned a lot. I saw Hollywood for what it was, and today what it's not. Because if you've noticed, it's all been turned around. And now everyone has a chance at showing their talent. Everyone has an opportunity at their fingertips. That's why I'm saying we all have a story and we should be sharing it. Everyone should be sharing it in one form or another, even if you write a small pamphlet. One time I picked this pamphlet up in the used bookstore and it said My Small Miracles. And it was just small, but it was a woman writing about little miracles that had taken place in her life. And it was so encouraging. I lent the book out and they never gave it back. And I can't remember the name of it and I can't remember who the author was or anything. But I thought that was so cool that she just felt like she should share. She was a nobody and she wrote a little book. It's just a thin little book. And that's what we all should do. We all should put our hands in the making of a great cake and make a beautiful one. So I hope that story helps somebody. And until next time.